All right, team. I'm here to celebrate dads, fathers, family life, your lives. Let's start from the beginning. Chris Rose, we want to hear about early Chris Rose, dad memories, paint the picture, Midwest. By the way, Boyd's been on the podcast before, so they know a little bit about him, but we got to bring you into the fold.
Well, for people who don't know, first of all, we're neighbors.
We are.
Did you tell everybody? Does everybody know that we're neighbors?
They're going to know now.
That's an important part of this story.
Yeah, we know everybody's deep, dark secrets here. For God's sakes. And I almost stopped in my tracks when I came into this setting. I was like, Paige, you got all made up for this?
I did.
Go.
I totally put on makeup. When I put on the makeup, I thought to myself, this is a true story. I was like, I wonder if Chris is going to notice that I want a little bit of makeup.
Hey, I notice everything. So I was
when it's that drastic of a change. Also,
stop.
It's so Paige drastic.
She looks wonderful whenever you see her. But I love it because you haven't been, you are from New Orleans, but you haven't been swallowed up by all the crap that comes with living in Los Angeles for decades.
Yes.
I have
it's
to
very true.
Way. My filter has to be, I have to do this. And then, no, you know what? Great. Good for you. Good for
Thanks,
you. So
during
this first answer, I want you to take up all the makeup because it's kind of freaking me out, to be honest.
Yeah.
So.
It's just a little like under eye concealer and a little lip gloss. And like, you just see me when I'm half dead. Like I've rolled out of bed.
Stop. It's not half. It's like a quarter.
Quarter dead.
Yeah. Quarter dead. Yeah.
Will you take me back before we go into your fatherhood? I want to know a little bit about you as a kid before you got out here and did your family.
I was such a bad child.
Were you? Okay, that's where I want to start.
First, I was the youngest of four.
Yeah.
My sister and my oldest brother from my dad's first marriage. And then there's another brother. And then me. Yeah. We all got along great. But my sister was a senior in high school when I was born. My oldest brother, I think, was a freshman in high school. So we never grew up in the same house, but we were all very close. I was a terrible kid. Every Sunday during dinner. And my parents were not like strict. They were born in the 20s. My parents were born in 1928, but they were not strict people. My dad was not a yeller at all.
Yeah.
But every Sunday during dinner, I would do something that was just shitty. And my dad would chase me up the stairs. And I remember running up the stairs and I would hear one of my brothers counting 5, 4,
oh my
3.
God.
It was to time it so that when I would slam the door, and then after a while, when I heard him, I would wait like an extra 2 seconds so that they wouldn't get the counting right. Slam it. But I was annoying. I was a pain in the butt. I always would be a smart ass, which has continued to this day, except now I get paid for it. But then when I got to be a teenager, I was great. Always told my parents when I was coming home, and I would never show up late. I wasn't like a big partier in high school. And you didn't have to worry about that. I was responsible. Something changed. Just boom.
Yeah.
You were sort of the opposite of the normal trajectory.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, Boyd, I think that's your opposite in your family.
100%. I was the flip of that. I was a pretty good kid. And then when the teen years hit, it was just a lot of pent up, probably insecurity, a lot of pent up late puberty, and a lot of sarcasm, which I don't get paid for, but I still do.
Yeah. but it's alive and well in our house.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
I found wrestling, thank God, because I played sports as a kid, but I wasn't particularly great at any sport until wrestling. And then I found that, and that sort of gave me the whole launching pad from
the confidence. And
guitar
and senior year, music,
certainly. But sports wise, it was definitely wrestling. And it was
were you a jock, Chris?
No.
You weren't either? Okay, so neither one of y'all really were.
No, I've been in the sports industry for over 3 decades, and everybody's like, well, how good an athlete were you? I was like, terrible. I was a horrible athlete. I stopped playing competitive sports after my freshman year of basketball. I stopped playing football after 8th grade, baseball after 8th grade, but I knew I always wanted to work in sports. I loved it. I was passionate about it, but I also did a little bit of everything. I could fit in with every group. I wasn't the cool kid. I wasn't a nerd. I wasn't a dork. I wasn't a musician. I wasn't a jock. But
Yeah.
I was the president of our school because I felt like I blended in with just about everybody.
Did you go to a big school?
No, I went to an all boys school in
Yeah.
suburban Cleveland, Ohio. 88 kids in
Yeah.
our graduating class, but it was highly. I mean, the education level was insane.
That's like
Virtually
boys'
every.
school. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Where'd you go?
I went to a school called John Burroughs in
Oh, right,
St. Louis.
Burroughs. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah. They
Burroughs.
have a lot of highly esteemed alumni, and me and my
Yeah,
brothers
you
also went
stop
there.
that. You
Yeah.
stop. When's John Hamm coming on today? That oh, he's
John,
here. He's here.
And you
Well,
have some big time athletes for out of Burroughs, don't you? I feel like you're always pointing at
Zeke
this,
Elliott,
like there's some wide receiver. Yeah.
he's a running back. The defensive end for the Jaguars, I forgot his name. He's much younger than I am.
which
Um,
one? Josh
uh,
Hines Allen?
no, his last name starts with an O, I think,
Oh, no,
or
no,
an
no, no,
E.
no. No, no, no. You're thinking of their linebacker,
Yeah,
Foye Oluokun.
that's who it is. Foye
Yeah.
went to
He
Burroughs.
went to
Yeah,
Yale.
yeah. They're good. I mean, and then we're the McDonnell brothers
And
too,
then they're the McDonnell brothers and the cousins.
and the cousins. So
And the
we
cou
brought the average down a little bit, but
Mm,
overall, still fairly impressive alumni group.
very
So was
good.
sports on
Yeah,
at your house, Chris, growing up? Like, was your dad a big sports guy or your mom?
Both. Both.
Both.
Enormous, enormous sports fans. So this is, I grew up, I'm a little bit older than you guys.
Yeah.
Sports wasn't as
barely.
readily available on TV as obviously or streaming devices as it is now, but I watched everything. In fact, I won a high school speaking contest called the Sherman Prize Speaking Contest, which was available to juniors and is like the speaking contest in the history of our school. I won it by admitting that I was a sportsaholic. So I went in front of the entire school and I laid it out and I said, I'm explaining to you that I am a sportsaholic. I wasn't making fun of like being an alcoholic, but I
Yeah.
presented it
Right.
in the way that
Yeah,
people
that's
do.
great.
And I mentioned to them, and everybody knew it. So I graduated, 35 years ago from high school.
Yeah.
And if you were to have asked people back then, what would Chris Rose be doing? This is it. This is it. They knew it.
Oh,
They
I
knew it
love
back then.
that.
That's
And
awesome.
it is awesome. It's
Yeah,
great.
when it's there so clearly from such a young age.
Do you think your high school friends, Boyd, would say that about you? I know your college friends wouldn't be surprised, but would your high school friends be surprised about your music career?
I don't think my high school friends would say that because I didn't really get into music in a meaningful way. I mean, I played music from when I was a kid, but I was taking piano lessons and stuff that I wasn't really wearing front and center, College, yes, they would say this makes sense though. Yeah. I mean, it just took
For
me
sure.
again, I didn't go through puberty until I was 30. So everything happened later for me.
And Paige is
including
so thankful for it.
she is really, really lucky. She's really lucky.
Oh boy, it's going in a different direction than I anticipated.
I told you, I warned you, Paige. This could
Yeah.
get,
Okay,
Chris could
so
have given
Chris,
you just a very nice conversation. You get me in this mix.
I
Things could,
wanted this. I wanted
right, okay,
due time. I was in the mood for this.
okay.
Chris, what do you do after high school? You go to college in the Midwest?
I did. I started out at the University of Michigan. And
Yeah.
I was there. I started the summer before your freshman year, which these days is not that uncommon. Back then, it was simply to keep the campus active and so that they could rake in more money from
Yeah.
out of state kids. So it was like summer camp. It was a blast. I loved it. And then the regular school year started, and I had a girlfriend back in Cleveland, and so I missed her. And one thing led to another, and I transferred from Michigan to Miami University in Oxford, Ohio, which is a very good
Yeah.
school. It's not Michigan,
Yes.
but it's a very good school. And I was there for 3 years, graduated on time, helped kind of run the student radio station. They weren't broadcasting sports on radio before I got there. I changed that the first week. I was like, no,
You
no.
knew going in you wanted that? Like you
Oh,
developed
yeah.
that? You had the vision for that? Oh, that's remarkable. You're 19 years old.
Oh, yeah, yeah. But I went to the sports information director, whose job it is to be the liaison between all of the athletic teams there
Yeah.
and the media. And I explained to him what I wanted to do. And he was a young guy and he was very supportive. He was like, let's see what we can do. And so now today they still broadcast football, basketball, men's and
Nice.
women's, They do hockey, they do baseball. I don't know if they do a few more, but it's great. It's a big thing that I wanted to do during my college
Yeah.
career, and they still do it today.
And did you not want to go into radio, or did you wanted to be on TV?
I didn't know until I had a few internships throughout college, including one in between my junior and senior year. I did 9 weeks at CNN in Atlanta,
Yeah.
and,
Boyd might have
uh
been there. Or no, you were ahead of Boyd by a couple years.
Yeah.
Boyd
yeah,
was in Atlanta after college.
it was great. I learned more in 9 weeks there than most of my friends who were communications majors. I was an
Yeah.
English journalism guy, and, it was fantastic. One day, oh boy, there was a Sunday morning very early where I took a bunch of highlight tapes that had been used the night before on CNN Sports, and I wrote my own scripts, and I went into the makeup room and I had them do makeup, and I wore my suit and I hopped up on the CNN international set when there was nobody on there. And I recorded a fake broadcast that I was then going to use as my resume tape.
Yeah.
So our intern coordinator, a guy named Larry Selfin, who was in his mid 20s, he brought me in the next day and he goes, "Did you hop up on the CNN international desk to do a resume tape?" I was
No.
like, "Yeah." He
Okay.
goes, "Dude, you could get fired for that." And I was like, he goes, "We're not going to because we didn't expect anybody to do
Yeah.
that. So we didn't even warn you about doing it." He goes, "You got some serious balls to do it, but don't do it again." I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I'm so sorry about that." So I took a risk, and I
I love
wish
it.
I had still had that tape somewhere. I have no idea where it is.
We do too.
That would be
Oh my
gold.
gosh. Oh, it would
I
be
love
so.
that you did the makeup too. It's like me
Oh,
today.
yeah. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. Except, Paige, you probably applied your own, not me. Not 21-year-old Chris Rose. I sat in the makeup chair, I was like, "Yeah, looks good.
Fix it
Uh-huh.
up. Yeah.
Uh-huh. A little more bronzer, guys.
Little bit more, please. Can somebody feed me grapes while I'm doing this?"
Yeah.
So then do you
Great.
get a broadcasting job right out of college?
No.
No. Okay, you put in your dues.
First job a week after graduating, I was running studio camera for the ABC affiliate in Cincinnati, Ohio, part-time
Yeah.
for $4.85
Oh
an
my
hour,
gosh.
less than 30 hours a week. But I was in the building and I was
Yeah.
talking to people who were on air, and I was going out on sports shoots on my own time. I said, "Can I tag along?" And they were like, "Yeah, drive your own car, show up wherever you want.
Yeah.
And we'll show you what's going on." And I started doing resume tapes there. I eventually got a few months later, the Fox affiliate, WXIX, was starting local news. And I went over there. I became a production assistant. And a week later, I got hired as a weekend sports producer. Kevin Frazier, who is one of the co hosts of Entertainment Tonight, was our weekend sports guy. And he's one of my
Wow.
mentors in the business. And he was like, "Dude, we got
Nice.
to get you out of town." And so you got to be hopping up there every week doing new resume tapes. And eventually, after 2.5 years, I mean, I would send it out to cities I didn't even know were part of the continental United States, like Hickory, North
Yeah.
Carolina. There were cities in Florida and Texas. I was like, "Are we sure these are real places?" And I kept
Yeah.
getting rejected, one
Yeah.
after another. And I remember calling one news director in one of these places, and I said, "Can you give me some reason as to why I wasn't hired, like so that maybe I can improve on something?" The guy goes, "Listen, dude, you were just as good as the person I hired. I can't tell you what it is. It's like, why do you like this flavor ice cream this day and another flavor the next? I
Yeah.
can't." I said, "I wish I could give you something." So I was like, "Oh, that's kind of disheartening." He goes, "Well, just keep
Right.
plugging away."
Yeah.
So
Those are the markets that Boyd was calling on in his
Oh,
sales
yeah.
job while before he launched into trying to
Good
be a
old Hickory,
musician.
North Carolina. I never went there, but I believe that it is, it's not a true DMA. There are a couple people watching TVs there. So
yeah,
it would,
But you had that same philosophy, Boyd. I felt like just get there, like getting the job at the music label while you were
yeah,
in the band, just be around
yeah.
the people.
Just get in the door. Get in the door
Yeah.
and start being around people who are smart. And the mentor, the value of a good mentor, Kevin. I
incredible.
mean, I have a couple. One really, really meaningful mentor who is one of my closest friends, and the impact on your life and your trajectory is seismic. I mean, it just things just wouldn't have happened in remotely the same way without that person being able to
That,
say, Yeah, like, dude, we got to
Yeah.
get you out of here. My mentor at Sony, when I worked there in syndication and traveled to all these towns, was my boss. While I was working for him, was actively trying to get me out the door. We had a sales meeting where everyone comes in from out of town. I can't remember if I was living in LA at the time or if I also came into LA, and I had done some skit or song or something that he loved. We were making little videos, my brother and buddies and I, and he loved them and thought they were hilarious. And so he got me an audition at Mad TV during day 2 of the sales meeting. He just said, "Get out of here." And I went and like borrowed a guitar from somebody and didn't impress anybody at the audition, but it didn't matter because it's just such a cool, pure and honest. I want you to do what you need to do. I don't care if you're here. I can see that you're not supposed to be at WXIX as a PA or, a weekend sports producer. You're supposed to be on air. So let's get you there.
Yeah.
Well,
And yeah,
that's a big deal. And I think it's important. Now we are where we are in terms of age and work
pedigree.
history, pedigree. Yeah. It's important to return that favor. People are afraid to lose. Well, I don't want to lose that person. They're so good for what we do. No. You should be building them up and kicking them out the door, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That is our job. I love it when young people get another opportunity. It might hurt you and what you do in the short term because you have to teach somebody else or find somebody. And sometimes you have to go through a few failures in order to find the right person that can finally fill their shoes. I loved it when I worked at MLB Network. There were several times over I would say a 3 or 4 year time where we would lose our producer of our show. People were like, why are you guys keep losing producers? I looked at that as a positive
Yeah.
and a reflection on how good we were, because
Yeah.
that meant that other people wanted to use people that you were helping develop. I
Yeah.
think
absolutely.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you come across younger people, men or women, who want to take the same path that you have or into podcasting or the new spaces that you've
Mhm.
gone into since everything's changed in the last 25 years since you've been doing
Yeah,
it?
but it's a little harder because the tack that I took, although it still makes sense for some, isn't the best way to do it these
Right.
days. So
Yeah.
I can't put myself in the shoes of a 23-year-old who's looking for it. I give them some suggestions in
Yeah.
terms of, I think that people who want to be in front of a microphone, they should be podcasting at an early age as they can.
Yeah.
And people go, well, what if nobody listens? That doesn't matter.
It's not
That
what
Yeah.
it's
doesn't
about.
matter. You need to sit down in front of a microphone, get comfortable with finding your voice. And I'm not talking about what we hear, I'm talking about what makes you tick, what makes you interesting in front of a camera and a
Yeah.
microphone, how to interview people, how to listen to people. I always
Yeah.
ask classes, I speak to college classes several times a year. I said, what do you think is the most important part of your body when you're interviewing? And a lot of people say, well, your mouth, obviously. And then they go, your eyes, or and finally, about 5 or 6 answers in, they go, your ears. And I was like, bingo.
Yeah.
That's the one, because you have no idea which way an interview is going to go because you're interviewing another human being. And if you're
Yeah.
not listening, you are going to miss the opportunity of a lifetime to ask a follow up question that can maybe get you with this answer that is going to be like, whoa.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's something that's told a lot because there's so much content and noise, and we're trying to take it all in and have our point of view and, have standout content. And I think it's really just having a point of view and finding your own way to be meaningful and like have substance. There's so much stuff that I just want to be like, oh, it doesn't fill up any meaning. It's just stuff. That's what we were
I'm
talking
sorry, I
about, Boyd.
wasn't. Can you repeat that? I wasn't listening.
I I also tuned out in the middle of that.
By the way,
Well,
boy,
Boyd
high
might have
five, dude.
actually tuned out. But we were talking about that with music because of all the musicians on Instagram, and Boyd has a friend who he met through Instagram who's a brilliant, talented musician, Tom, and we love him. And we were talking about, well, Boyd, you can say your point of view about being on Instagram and how different it is. Now you have to, or you can find your voice as a musician. And I don't know, you get
It's
an audience
cutting
very
your
quickly.
teeth. It's the same idea. You just have to cut your teeth. For us, it was start playing in bands. That was for me. It was just get into a band, start rehearsing, start playing gigs, to 2 people to 20 people to 500 people. It didn't matter. And that wasn't a linear progression. It could happen at any point. You get a gig and there are like 10 people there, and you just have to learn how to play together and learn how to become a musician and learn how to read the room, and all the things that you would do in an interview too is just play off of what you're getting. But now it's funny. I was talking with one of my closest buddies who I played music with and played in bands with, Ed, for many years, all the way through college and after. And we are on Instagram just firing each other cool little music snippets. And I sent him a guy that I found that does really quirky short. It's all super short, obviously. It's like, but his songs are on Instagram, at least, are like 20 seconds, 30 seconds long. And he said, God, I wish that, man, we would have done well with this. Like, because
Yeah.
we loved the little snippet. It's easy to create. In some ways, you think it's easier to create lots of little short things and just be weird and have fun. And I said, yes, this like would have been perfect for us. But it's an entirely different animal. Like Tom,
Totally.
my friend, he will write, produce, perform video. All of it is a visual medium. So you have to find your voice there too and what you're trying to do. And he'll do an incredible 25-second, 30-second video in a day, including an original song, singing it, playing it. He plays all the instruments. That's not easy.
And it looks easy. It
Right.
looks so fun. It's
Well,
just
he
like
makes
you're
it look
taking it in.
effortless,
Yes.
right. And so you're like, oh God, sit down and try to write a song that
Yeah.
people are going to A, think is musically worthwhile, and B, your comedy is meaningful on any level. It's so hard,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And be original.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I think for 23-year-olds, for me too, and I try to mentor a lot, and anyone that reaches out, I will take a Zoom, I'll do whatever at any moment, because those are so important. When you, even if
Mhm.
it's just like, oh God, I have a Zoom with this guy next week, that gives you some momentum when you're lost and
Yeah.
you're 25 years old and you're like, even if the Zoom is just a conversation, and I always leave it open, just call me back or hit me anytime. Nobody ever really does, but that might be on me. But
Sometimes they do, Eiley. The girls have a
yeah,
friend
yeah,
who is an
yeah.
aspiring
Well, that's a
musician in
little
high
different.
school. Yeah,
Yeah,
but that's to talk to high schoolers, and all of our kids are of that age. Miles is the youngest of our 5 kids between us.
yeah.
But it's so great to be around
And
high
we do have
schoolers. Yeah.
a joint family now. Chris was mentioned we're neighbors, but
Yeah.
now we consider it's sort of like sister wives, but it's
Yeah.
brother husbands.
I'm
We've
so sorry, Michelle. I'm sure Michelle is gonna listen to this and be like, "Michelle," I mean, like, "Paige,
yeah.
control your guests."
Well, she has no idea where I am right now, nor gives a shit. So the odds of her listening to this are minuscule.
Sorry, Paige. Sorry, Paige. Or
Yeah. Sorry
congrats,
about
you're
it.
protected.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Can we
Can I
can
tell you this? She has heard all this bullshit for basically 30 years now.
Yeah.
can we
So
go
she's
back to that? I wanna go to Michelle and the boys. So
yes.
19 yeah, let's go to that. So 1999, you got married? Or y'all
No,
met?
97.
'97.
We
Okay,
met in 95 in Reno. I finally got that on-air job in Reno, Nevada, and
okay,
I had
okay.
been living in Cincinnati for 3 years, and I was so excited. I fly out there. I
Yeah.
didn't know a soul. I didn't know anybody. And I go out there. I was like, "Great. Like, what are we driving to Vegas tonight? What is that, an hour?" They're like, "Hey, moron, it's 7.5 hour drive. It's at the other end of the state." I was like, "What?" I had no
Okay,
idea what
cool.
was going on.
Cool.
Um, but I ended up meeting Michelle because her sister Denise and I worked at the same television station, News 4
Okay.
KRNV, Reno, Nevada. So
Sunbeam. Sunbeam.
uh, she worked in master control, which for people that aren't
Yeah.
television people, that's the area where they run the shows, they hit the buttons, and then we run the
Yeah.
commercials and all sorts of stuff. So she asked me one day, she goes, "Are you single?" I'd been out there a month, maybe. I was like, "Oh God." She goes, "Oh, it's not for me. It's for my sister." Now, listen, I love Denise. I love my sister in law. We are not compatible as far
Yeah.
as that stuff goes. So she said it's my sister, and she showed me a picture. I was like, "Oh wow, she's very cute." We ended up meeting out in a big group after a Friday night high school football show that I did. I was walking into a bar called Chewy and Jugs, and I turned to my buddy Kevin Mahan, who's one of our videographers. I'm still friends with him to this day, and I turned to him and I was like, "God, I hope that's her." And it was her. We sat
Oh,
down, we hit it off, and there you go. She went on one
That's
date the rest of her
yeah.
life with a guy
wow.
on that was on a
That was
Friday.
nice.
She had a date on Sunday because she wanted to go see the show Splash. So that
Yeah.
dude took her out. That was it.
That was
See
it.
ya. Beat it, pal.
Can we just
Beat it,
pause
loser.
on, I hope that's her? That is so sweet. I feel like you should just write that on a card for her one day. Like, I hope that's her. And that's
I
your whole
write good
life.
cards. I write
Yeah,
You
good cards.
do. You
Oh, I
you
have
do
do.
a
write good
very
cards.
loving, yes, I love the way you
Yeah.
guys
I
communicate
And
your
that
love.
is poured over to our boys, which I am thankful for.
Yes.
Brady, he should be hired by Hallmark. He could write cards. Both he and Josh have a very sensitive side to them. They're very sweet, very
Chris,
different kids, but sweet.
was your dad affectionate with you?
No, my as I
How did
mentioned,
this where did this come from to you?
it's a great question
Thank you.
because my both my parents, they were born 3 weeks apart in 1928, so right
Yeah.
before the Great Depression,
Yeah.
and that was a totally different time in our country. Like
Yeah.
they didn't hug it out, bitch. Like that's not what
Yeah.
happened. Um, I remember this. I kissed my dad on his forehead every night before I went to bed. And
Yeah.
I've always been a sensitive person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know where that comes from because my dad was extremely practical and he was loving from the standpoint of I think whatever mistakes he might have made in his first marriage and with his two older children in terms of maybe not being as available as he wanted to be because of work, he tried to make sure that he could be with us. And
Yeah.
Wow.
my dad worked his ass off, was highly successful. But he always made sure that we knew that he wanted to be places and wanted to be there.
Yeah.
And even if it just meant sitting around on a Sunday and watching 5 football games together and a golf tournament
Yep.
and not saying anything, that was good enough. Just being together was really good.
That is. Look, it's hard to in some ways, but to be able to have a like a second shot at
Hmm.
raising kids.
For
I
sure.
mean, with
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
much life perspective. I mean, of course, we look back now and say, "Oh man, I wish that I had thrown the phone in the trash when they were 2 and I was putting them to bed,"
Yeah.
Yeah.
things like
And
that. But
when my dad died at his funeral, I told my sister and my oldest brother, I thanked them because whatever mistakes he might have made, and I don't know a lot of detail. When you're the youngest, you just don't, to
yeah,
this day, I don't even know.
Yeah.
And now my sister's gone, unfortunately. She passed away. So I can't talk to her about it. And my oldest brother, we've got a great relationship. We just haven't really spent a lot of time talking about that sort of stuff. I just
yeah,
don't
Yeah.
know it. Maybe it's because I
right.
don't want to know. I don't know.
Yeah. Or you just haven't had the right opportunity. And when it comes, you will be
Possible.
ready for that conversation. How did you show up for your boys? Like, were they
Very
well,
different.
yeah, I wanna hear about how you showed up and if they are sensitive like you, if they have that from the beginning, like from the jump.
So Josh is our older one. He'll be 25 in November 1st, if you've been following along.
Yes.
He is the highly emotional roller coaster of the two,
Okay.
which is great because he keeps you on your toes. There's a lot of highs and there's some lows. And
Yeah.
Brady is this. He is, for those of you that are on audio only, I am flatlining.
Yeah.
Like
Even.
he is as even keel as it gets. He
Yeah.
just, I look at him, I'm like, dude, are you with me? You still with me? It was always important for me, and maybe it's out of being selfish, to not miss anything. Now, because
Yeah.
of my work and earlier in my career, I traveled extensively. One year I was gone 180 days,
Wow.
180. And I turned down jobs, good jobs, and it's probably cost me a bit in my career because I needed to be here. I just
Yeah.
did. There
Yeah.
were times where, Josh was going through a few things and I knew I had to be home. I've
Yeah.
left jobs. I told my bosses, I said, I got to go home. I said,
Yeah.
I hope you understand. And most of the time they have. But there are also times where it's cost me opportunities. And I don't regret it because you only have one chance to be a parent at that specific time. And you don't know if you miss that time when your kid needs you the most. If you say, well, I'll get to it Tuesday when I get home instead of
Right.
being Thursday, and you got to get home. I have
Yeah.
had to get home.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you don't know if that's the day where you could have prevented something from going the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just offered your presence, I think, as a father, like in acknowledging and celebrating dad energy. There's nothing like a dad being there. And most of my show, I mean, most of our listeners are women, and my whole career is about women and the truth of women's lives. But there's just something about having that male presence and stability and sturdiness in your home that I think is so powerful, which is what we're celebrating. And Boyd, you have that same experience of being present. I feel like because your dad wasn't physically in the house, he
Yeah.
traveled for work.
Yeah. My dad traveled a lot. He was gone most weeks. He would leave Monday morning, get back like Thursday night. And he was very affectionate, very encouraging, very available to me if I needed him. But it just became sort of life. Like my mom raised us, and dad would come in on the weekends, and we would go to breakfast or, whatever. When the kids were maybe 5 or 6, it was when my dad died. And I realized I don't want to have that be the trajectory for me. And it all sort of dovetailed at the right time where I started working for myself, which opened up everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love it. I don't miss much. I mean, yes, sometimes here and there, but it's offered me so much opportunity to be a part of their lives. And I think post COVID and with everybody kind of being home, that was such a silver lining too for I'd have to imagine a lot of families, but I know for ours, of just at least from Paige's my perspective. The
Yeah.
kids may say we're up in their shit too much, but I'm like, this is great. Like, let's hang. You have to hang out with me now. But I do think it's been between that and then just running my own career, and running my own business. There's nothing more important to me than being around, especially with how fast it's all just flying by. I think that's the main difference between me and my dad. I think he was definitely very affectionate and passed that along. And I think raising boys, I have 2 brothers. It's important and it's hard sometimes maybe to, especially with that generation,
Yes.
to sort of know that this is important. Like my dad hugged and kissed us all the time. I remember trying to shake his hand in front of my friends and he like swatted my hand out of the way. I was getting ready to go on this week-long camping trip or something. And my buddies were like shaking their dad's hands. I was like, Dad, shake my hand. And
Yeah.
he
Well,
had nothing to do with
Yeah.
that. He was like, no,
I
shut up.
love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Uh, I'm the same way, and our
Yeah.
boys, they don't like being hugged.
Yeah. Well,
They
same,
really
Chris,
don't.
you should see the kids try to wiggle out of Boyd's hugs. Like everybody in the family, Boyd can be a little
Hey,
Yeah, I'm the
much.
same
deal.
way.
Yeah, deal with it.
Yeah.
Well, and I get it, like, with spouses, like, I hug Michelle. I constantly hug her, and I can feel her literally pulling away. I was like, "Do you have an appointment to get to? What's going on here? Can't you just, like, just a couple extra seconds here?"
Yeah.
It's not gonna lead to anything. I'm not trying that sort of stuff. I know it's
Yet,
not
but
on the
Yeah,
calendar.
but you
So,
never know. You
you
never
know,
know.
there is a
well,
vulnerability. I understand, Paige. I get
eh,
it. But
eh,
I think we lead the same life.
yeah. So maybe you and I should just meet for hugs
I'll
several
do that.
times a week, and
I will
people
do
can
that.
drive right past us, and we could just share an embrace.
Yeah,
And
that's what should be happening.
yeah,
And then we'll
because
model that to the children
Yeah, the
and to
next
our wives.
generation, next
better
gen.
yet, we're going to commission somebody to build a statue for each of us. It'll be the hugging dads, and we'll each have one in our yards.
I
By
was
the
thinking
way,
oil painting or something, but a statue is better. It's more
statues
permanent.
are way better. But it can't be so heavy that you can't move it. Because
Right.
Right,
God forbid if
right.
Well,
you got to move, once your
yeah, no,
family
we need to
leaves the
take it.
house, you got to take it
Yeah.
Yeah.
with
Not
you,
leaving
right?
that. Yeah. Right.
No, it's not
So
like a
So,
can we fast forward, guys? I have
oh
another
man.
question.
Yes.
Okay, so we've got this.
to where we're
Yeah.
planting the
Wait.
statues.
Yeah.
What are we
One in
fast
each
forwarding
front
to?
yard. We already covered
Yeah.
that.
So
We're
what? You're
waiting
not
on the
listening,
Yeah.
statues.
Paige. We already
Material
been over
type.
this.
What do we need to talk
Ears,
about?
Paige, ears.
Come on.
I want to hear about from you first, Chris, about when your kids get involved in sports.
Hmm.
And at this point, you know a ton about sports. Did you coach?
Hmm.
How did you say something, not say something? You and I have talked about this a little bit on our walks in the front yard.
Hmm.
I'm interested in youth sports, what's happening in our culture. What's your take on it? Because you've been on the front lines of sports for years. And how do we as parents make the most of it and the best of it without going crazy over it? It's already a crazy culture. So I'm interested in your take on it.
This is such an easy and complex answer at the same time.
Okay.
I did coach both kids' teams, and for the most part, I thought I did a good job of the nurturing side and the emotional developmental side of what sports gives you. And whether or not you're a sports fan, you might say, oh my God, our society puts too much emphasis on sports. And even though this is what I do for a living, I would agree with it. But I think that kids' sports are so important
Yeah.
on so many levels because it teaches you the importance of working together, to understand that there are differences in abilities in whatever it
Yeah.
is that you do. And well, how do we deal with that? How do you deal with the kid who you can tell is stud, but has to rely on the kid who's not good in order for us to all get to the same place that we want to go eventually? How do we deal with that?
Yeah.
And I think that that sort of stuff is really, really important. As a coach, I always thought the two most important things were obviously to teach kids that it is fun, but there's times to work, there's times to be serious, there's times to be silly. Like you have to figure out what those parameters are.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you don't ever want to be the coach who makes a kid stop playing the sport. And I don't think I was ever that coach. I
Yeah.
didn't want to make a kid hate the sport or hate their time so much that they wanted to go find something else. Brady graduated high school a year ago, so he just finished his freshman year of college, and he played baseball from age 4 all the way till he was done with high school, and he was a good player. But it was so fun to watch him play against kids that I coached, and they would come
Yeah.
over and they'd be like, "Hey, Chris, how you doing?" I'd be like, "Oh my god, you're like a man now." And they would talk to me about how much fun they had when they were younger and playing sports. And I'll give you one for instance. There was, I think the kids were 9, and so they were playing kid pitch. It's one of the first
Yeah.
years of the second year of kid pitch, and we're in a game for baseball, and it's a timed game at that point. We have to stop, and then they go last hitter. Well, we are in a tie game, and it's second and third for the other team, and the kid is up. We could have walked him, and we
Yeah.
would have ended in a tie. And I walked out to our pitcher, a kid named Ryan Bird, or Ryan Sossman. I said, Rye, don't walk him. I said, you try and strike him out or get him to hit it to one of your teammates. You make him hit the ball. You're going to do it, and you're going to do great. And he gave up the game winning hit, and he's crying. And we always had a team meeting afterward. And I said, listen, it stinks that we lost, but we're going to be okay. Everything's going to be fine. And I said, parents, probably some of you are wondering, why the heck didn't we just walk the kid and we would have gotten a tie? And that's good enough. I
Yeah.
said, because next time I want Ryan to be able to have that experience so that he knows that I'm going to get him out. And I know what it feels like to not have it work out. And I'm not afraid of that. But next time I know I'll have the confidence to beat him. I said, think of how lucky he was. How
Yeah.
few times we have as 9 or 10-year-olds an opportunity to play with a game on the line where it's not going to matter.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to care after this
Yes.
because we're all going to go get snacks and feel good, and the rest of your day is going to be great. But
Yeah.
man, to have that experience, you can't replicate that anywhere else.
No.
Yeah.
And so they all went, we get it. We get it.
Yes.
So
Totally.
That's great.
yeah, and it's something
I
that
love
stuck.
that.
I would say one or two other things before we move on. Number one, if you're a parent, and whether it's as a coach or just a parent watching your kids, don't ever talk to the referees or the umpire. Don't do it.
Yeah.
It's stupid. They're not going to change.
They're not
They're
going to change.
umping and reffing 9
Yeah.
and 10 or 15-year-old games. Like,
Yeah.
if they were great, they'd be doing the major leagues or the NBA or, right?
Yeah.
And even those people get hounded, but don't bother them. It doesn't help your kid. We used to have a guy in high school whom I'm a good friend with, and I like him a lot. When his kid would pitch, he would always be chirping at the umpire. And
Yeah.
I'd turn to him and I'd say, do you think this is helping?
Right.
Do you really think this is helping? And it wouldn't. So let's stop.
Yeah.
In a sport like baseball, in particular, where the best hitters in the history of the sport are only successful 3 out of 10 times, 30%, it's okay if your kid goes 0 for 4 on the day. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Let it be. You don't have to talk about every at bat. They're going to figure it out. They
Yeah.
will figure it out. And lastly, support everybody on the team.
Yeah.
I think most parents have gotten that clue,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it's not always just about your kid. It's just
For
not.
sure.
So when your kid is pitching and there's an error behind them, come on, guys, let's go. Let's pick it up on defense.
Right.
Once again, I would walk over to the parent and be like, "Do you think he tried to make a mistake?"
Yes,
Or how
that
about
is
this?
yes.
How about this? When your kid gives up a homer, do I sit there and yell at your kid because he gave up a homer?
Yeah,
Nope, because it happens. So let's
yeah,
just let them play, let them enjoy, let them deal with the successes and failures of it. And if they got questions or they want to talk to you about stuff, then be there for them.
yeah,
Awesome. Be there.
yeah,
Don't drive the discussion. Be a support system.
yeah. That is like, me chirping in Boyd's ear at the baseball field or in the basketball court now because Mouse's sport is basketball. To remember that it's a journey, like, it's developmental, like, at all of this the perspective that gets so warped is that it's a fixed outcome, like, we're doing this to win. We're doing this to learn. We're doing this to grow, but it's really hard in our culture where the stakes are so high, where high school
Mhm.
feels like college now, and college feels like professional. It's like everything is so intense so quickly and so young. It's hard to remember that. You have to actively choose to remember that.
Yeah, but what do you want Miles to get out of it? I mean, do you think Miles is going to play? Let's do it
Let's
easiest to
practice.
hardest.
Yeah.
Is he
Yeah.
going to make the NBA?
No.
50-50. Whoa, whoa,
Good.
whoa.
Thank God. Thank God we finally got it out of him. Been trying this for years. And on this show,
This is
what the
it. We
hell is the
finally
name of
did
the
it.
show anyway?
You heard it here first. I'll meet you there.
Okay, we heard it right here. Finally, a 50-50. I'll take a coin flip at any point. What are the odds of him playing at like North Carolina or Duke?
0.
49-51.
49, 49,
Okay.
51. Right. So you just keep going. Right. You want him to
No,
have an
look, I
amazing
want him to have
experience.
fun. I want him to be able to play in high
Yeah.
school and have fun and
Exactly.
do the thing that he loves doing.
And didn't he
That's
Yeah.
do
it.
it his first year? Didn't he
Yes,
Yeah,
play
it's
a
yeah,
been
ton?
great fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
He's
It's
doing great.
great. So let's build off of that. And by the way, if he keeps working out like a madman that he is and sipping 18 protein shakes a day, and
We will not be able to
and doing
afford
the
the gas to get him there.
and doing
Yeah.
the Smith machine, where he really builds up all those muscles with his old man, it's going to be great. But
Was your
start.
house, meat-heady? Did your boys go through what Miles and Boyd are doing right now? Protein shakes,
Oh,
bench
well,
press?
Brady's right in the thick of that. Are you
Yeah.
kidding
Yeah.
me?
Yeah.
Where do you think he is right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
GYM. But when he goes for 3 hours.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
He's insane.
So you're living it too.
He's really, he takes it all in.
I was going to ask you a little more on youth sports in general. I mean, obviously, growing up, when we grew up, maybe it was more competitive and more intense out here then too, but it wasn't like that. Growing up, it was like, try this, do this, do
Right.
this. And then when you get to high school is when the clock starts with anything. Nothing was intense in any way for me until high school. And even then it was like, okay, I'll try football. No, I don't like football. Okay, I'll do this. And then once I sort of locked in, then it became much more of an intention. I'm going to be good at this. I'm going to work at this.
Mhm.
Now it's year round from when they're 8 years old. He was playing baseball year round, and the boys were, I know, and whatever the sport is, and it almost forces you into picking one sport by the time that you're before high school. We were at a tournament over the weekend, and we came out down in Irvine, and at the adjacent gym, they had the 8th and 7th graders of like the absolute highest caliber from all over the country. It was some other league, and Miles knew, like, he was like, well, that's that, blah, blah, blah. And he knew like 10 of their names. He's like, this is the number one 8th grader. These are 7th graders. And Miles estimated, he said, I think maybe 25% is the number we landed on, true 7th or 8th graders. It was
Age-wise,
age-wise,
like
it
where
was
you would be.
insane.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
insane. The game we were watching of 7th graders, the two big men were 6'2", 200 pounds, and had, no joke, had mustaches. Like 7th grade, like
Yeah.
legit mustaches, delts on the guards. At least they were 15 and playing in 7th grade, which is kind of what it is now. Certainly in basketball, and I'm pretty sure across all sports, where the reclassing is not just happening once, maybe, but even twice. And it's just, I was shocked yesterday. And I'm sure that there are some of the kids were actually the age that they say they are, or the grade that they're in, the appropriate grade or whatever. So I can't say I didn't check birth certificates, but it just, the eye test was like, it's not even funny anymore. It's just like,
Yeah, I mean, listen, this isn't anything new. This has been going on for years and years and years, and so it does sound like you should talk to your therapist about facial hair issues because I don't know if this is because you're late pubescent run
what's
or
part of it.
Part of it.
whatever it was,
That
but
is
it
part
sounds
of
like
it.
there's some issues you got to get past with facial hair, and for that I will support you.
Thank you.
Um,
Maybe while we're hugging, you can,
yeah,
Yeah.
well,
guide me a
in
little bit.
fact,
We
when
need
we
a
have the
fit tattoo.
statue done, I won't
Yeah.
even have my beard put on there. I'll do
Okay,
clean
shave it.
shaven. Yeah, just for
Thank you.
us, so that
Smart.
I want
Smart.
you feeling well, or at
Thank
least
you.
the
I'm
Well,
one
you're
glad
that
you
belongs,
noticed now.
listening.
at
You're
least the one that
listening, Chris.
belongs on your lawn.
Yes.
For mine and over here, it
Okay,
might be a
that's
little different.
fair. To each his
A
own.
little more
To each
manly.
his own.
But I will get back to this about the playing multiple sports. It is the number one thing that drives me up a wall about youth sports is that, yeah, by the time you become a freshman, you damn well better have decided what sport you want to play.
Yeah.
Why? Because you're going to fall behind. That's such
Yes.
Yeah.
bullshit. That is so ridiculous. And you know what?
Yeah.
It's the system that has screwed the kids here because the coaches are like, well, if they're not here, if little Johnny's playing football in the fall instead of fall baseball, well, that's a real problem. So I work in both baseball and football. And the NFL draft, there were 32 first round picks. And this is probably, I'm going to say 3 years ago. And I don't exactly remember what class it was. 28 of the 32 that were selected in the first round were multi sport high school athletes. That means they
Wow.
played something else, not just football. They ran track, they played hoops, they were baseball players. They talked about how it helped them develop other skill sets. It helped them rest their muscles
Yeah.
from their predominant sport. And oh, by the way, they had fun. They
Yeah.
loved it. I'm sure they were elite athletes, but they might not have been the best player in those other sports. So maybe
Yeah.
they had to adjust to a different role. Maybe they were a role player in those sports instead of the stud that they became in football. Who knows? But we really have missed the boat on this one. Missed it by 50 yards. We
Yeah.
duck hooked it. It's just
Yeah.
horrible. Really,
Yeah.
it's terribly upsetting to me.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Like in our case, I think had it been more open all the way through, Miles probably would play more. I'm sure he would. He loves all kinds of stuff. And it's just sad that it just
Well,
gets
it's the
so funneled
system
so
to
fast.
yeah, to your point,
Yeah.
Chris. It's like you're in the system and then it's hard to get out because you do feel like you want the best for your kid. Like in the most average way, not even in the type A psychotic parent way. You want your kid to have the opportunities. And so then it
Right.
makes it hard to have the door still
Oh,
open if you're not playing by the rules of the system.
I know. I'm saying that I understand it, what has
Yeah.
transpired. I just hate it. I hate
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
for the kids, number one. And then
Yeah.
I hate it that we as parents don't have the answer to it because
Yeah.
Yes.
our answer is all the same, which is, well, we don't want to lose our place in line, essentially,
Yes.
is the
Yeah.
response.
Yes.
That's,
That's
that's a
exactly
really
right.
bad way to look at it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're in it together, and I think to hear your perspective being in sports, but also for us all to share the moment, I find that that's what people need to know that they're not alone,
Oh,
especially
yeah.
the parents I know who are coming up, their kids are like in 5th grade and they can already see it. You know, I have parents who have ballerinas, that are gymnasts, like forget it. They're
Oh, yeah.
already like
Gymnasts,
you're old,
that's
like if you haven't chosen. And
yeah.
that's 5th grade, you know? So I think it's something that we can at least share the honest truth and frustration of it,
Uh-huh.
and that's part of it and talking about it so that people don't feel like they're the only ones. What do you like doing as a family? Are there rituals that you enjoy the most? Like what's it all about for you right now in this moment in your fatherhoods?
Well, I will say this that I have carried from childhood to fatherhood something that I wish it was more. I wish it was.
Yeah.
Like, I grew up, I told you earlier in this conversation, with my dad just sitting and watching games, and that was good enough for me. And
Yeah.
now, because like when we're done with this conversation, I will sit and watch baseball for the next 7 hours. And I know for most people, they're like, oh God, what the hell's the matter with that dude? It's my job,
Yeah.
but it's also something I love doing with my kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll sit there and we'll talk about our teams and hey, this is going on, that's happening. Like, But sports has been an incredible bond for my family. It's in our DNA. It's who we are. We used to plan vacations around the Browns' schedule. Like, we
Yeah.
wouldn't go anywhere for winter break because the Browns were playing. Like, that's moronic, especially if you think about where the Browns are today. When I was growing
Exactly.
up, like, they were legitimately good. We
They
won the
were.
division 5 times in the '80s, people. So don't have, yeah,
Mac and Biner. I mean,
that away,
we didn't have a
that
team
away.
to root for. Yeah.
That away. But and our kids, Josh and Brady, were born in Los Angeles. They could have picked. They could have gone the easy way. The Lakers,
Yeah.
Dodgers, and had teams that were winning championships and easy to root for. But no, they wanted to follow. And all the Cleveland games were on in our house growing up. And
Yeah.
so that's who we're passionate about. We're taking a trip this summer to go see the Guardians play at Wrigley Field in Chicago. You
Yeah.
Very
know?
cool.
I
Yeah, I
love
mean,
it.
it'll be fun. So it sounds ridiculous, and that's where I so applaud Michelle. She
Yeah.
does not come from a sports family. Her dad was born in Paris, grew up in Brazil, didn't move to the United States till he was a late teenager. She didn't grow up with this sports background, so she has given up a lot of that side of her identity
Yeah.
to sit and watch the Cavs get blown out by 40 points in a playoff game with the
That
Pacers.
was hard. That was hard to
Yeah,
watch.
but she sat there. She
Yeah.
felt, she was like, "Oh my god, our kids are gonna be horrible this week." So, like, that's what we do, and I know it sounds ridiculous for a lot of people because, "Hey, we're gonna go take a hike," which is awesome, or we like
Yeah.
to go camping, or we like to travel and do this. That's not who we've been. We just
Yeah.
like hanging out and being with each other, and I know it sounds a little silly and
That's all there
probably
is.
I think our
Yeah,
life is very simple too, don't you, Boyd?
absolute I
What
mean,
what is your
very
favorite
simple.
thing is our like in our family right now? I mean, we don't do a lot.
I think No, I
In a
think
good
for us,
way. It's yeah,
yeah,
it's a simple
absolutely
life.
in a good way. It's how I would prefer it to be because it is really just about hanging out, and that's enough for me. I think our thing is going out for dinners. All my kids are extreme foodies. They love
mm,
Miles is a volume play, obviously, but the girls are really have sophisticated interest and curiosity, and
Yeah.
Miles too around food. Like we get sushi, let's get something we've never had. That's Miles's straight off the gates. Like, what haven't we had? What
that's
is this?
amazing.
Let's get this. So like we have tremendous joy and shared excitement around eating out. So like when we go on vacation, the line item you can look, the dinners is like that's the event of the day. Who
Yeah.
gives a shit about renting a boat? Like, let's go blow the $1,000 on some kind of something. And God bless Paige there too. In the way that Michelle is not from a sports family, Paige is the one at the table every time that like really just wants a baguette and some butter and maybe like a piece of cheese pizza.
Chris,
You're
it's
from
so
New
true.
Orleans.
I
She
know.
has
It's one of those secret things about me. I mean, every human has so much paradox. It's a total mismatch. No one gets it. Like, I could eat a cheese quesadilla, like, that's it.
That's it. Our daughter wrote Paige a letter
Mother's Day. Yeah, it was
from
a Mother's
or
Day
your
thing.
birthday, I think, maybe,
Oh,
or
yeah,
something.
okay.
Yeah. And we're writing about what we love about Paige. And one of the things that she wrote was, "We love your fear of flavor." And
Ah,
it, and we were dying. And
good
me was like,
question.
well, it's true. I mean,
Yeah,
we
it was
still
really
love it.
cute.
We still love it. So Paige endures all of it. Do just weird sushi items.
Yeah.
The restaurants that we like to try that just have, you know, elaborate flavors. And Paige is like, do y'all have chicken tortilla soup? And I was like, just let her do it, guys. Just let her do it. Miles is
Well,
like,
'cause
I'll take
yeah.
2 New York strips and the king crab legs. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this guy learned to order. I remember the first time he ordered a steak he just was like, it came around and he must have been like 11. He's like, I'll have the New York strip medium rare and I'll get the with lump crab. I'm like, what? Everyone else had
Yeah,
ordered like
Was anybody
pasta.
rolling on that?
yeah,
My God,
I know.
that's so amazing. I'm
I
in.
know. Yeah, exactly.
I'm in.
Exactly.
well, my takeaway with that is that it doesn't matter what it is. I think the joy is that when you're engaged with something that your kids can engage with, it's so inspiring. Like, to have young people, like, at your table and in your life and having all
On the
these new
couch watching
experiences.
sports with you,
Yes, it's there's
like
nothing
just
better.
sharing space
Yep.
Yeah,
and enjoying who they are, you know?
and how fleeting it all is. I
Yeah.
think that's something to,
Well, that's
be
the
very
thing.
present too. Yes, and
Oh,
that's
yeah.
a big part of our life right now. When we see you and Michelle encouraging us, because as our listeners know, because I've talked about this so much, our kids our daughters are leaving for college in 3 months, and so that's a big
Mhm.
part of our life right now, but I'm sure that there are great things to come and lots to look forward to in family life. But in this moment, everything feels particularly precious and a little bit emotional around here. As
Yep.
Boyd and I, like, look across at each other in the kitchen, like, fully misty-eyed for no
Yeah.
reason, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, is he gonna start crying? I'm gonna start crying right now," and then we'll like, "Okay, let's
Very
do dinner."
fragile.
Yeah, we have to we have to move
More
this.
than I normally am, more than
Yeah.
you even know me to be, Chris.
Well, I don't know if this will help or hurt, but I did grab a peek at what each of the boys wrote to Michelle in their
Oh, yeah.
Mother's Day cards.
Yeah.
Um, and Brady wrote, I missed you every day at school.
Mm.
Oh, I love that.
And I was like, oh boy. Oh boy. And
Yeah.
she's sitting there like, were you okay?
Yeah.
Were you okay? But
Were you okay? I was okay.
he's
I
fine.
was,
Yeah.
Like he's
yeah,
good. He's
yeah.
good. Don't worry, honey. He's
No,
Yeah.
fine.
I think he's gonna be all
So,
right. He's
but
yeah.
I
I
love
will.
that your heartfelt way of showing up has run through them. Like, that's
Yeah.
so beautiful that they're very heartfelt, like you have
Yeah.
been and like your fatherhood has been. It's
Yeah. I'm
beautiful.
the sap. And I will say this that I haven't been tough enough on them. She
Yeah.
is the one, and she's verbalized that to me. She's like,
Yeah.
why am I always the asshole?
Yeah.
Like
Somebody's gotta be.
you
Yeah.
just want to be their friend. And I don't think that's 100% accurate, but I understand where she's coming from.
Yes.
I hear her on that. And I was like, sometimes you got to wear it, kid. Take one for the team.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
perfectly
because guys,
fine. Don't worry. Hey, boys and I are going to go hang out for a little while. You go and sit in the corner.
appreciate you sharing.
Yeah,
We'll
thanks.
catch you later. Oh my
Amazing.
god.
A dad move for sure.